it is no longer in the interest of justice for him to be in prison, and I'm recommending his release. 20 years old now, sentenced to life in prison, and I made a decision when I got there that I wasn't going to continue revisiting that pain on my parents. 2000, it was here in the States, especially California, it was towards the height of a tough on crime movement, which essentially meant that for people who were serving life terms, this is a statement directly from the governor of the state at the time, that the only way a person with life would ever get out of prison was in a pine box. If you had a life term, then you were expected to die there in prison, in a 6x9 cell. But my mom had the financial means to support my education through correspondence. So I began taking college correspondence courses. And over the course of those 20 years, I earned a bachelor's degree in business administration, a master's degree in philosophy, and a second master's degree in psychology, along with a state certification as a licensed drug and alcohol addiction counselor. There's really two sides to my incarceration. The first 10 years really was about me just doing everything I could to honor the promise not to continue revisiting my family with heartache. So it was me like focusing on me, staying out of the way, not getting involved with the prison politics. You know, there was all types of madness going on the yard, especially in an atmosphere where people are being told that you're going to die here. You're going to die here. So that created a context that was very desperate for many people. And all they held on to was, you know, I'm whoop-de-whoop from this gang. You know, I'm a Compton Crip, or, you know, I'm a Soreño, or whatever affiliation was. That's all that they had. And, you know, there was a lot of violence, a lot of small-minded thinking, because there was no atmosphere for growth or development or rehabilitation. So all I did my first 10 years was try to avoid that to the best of my ability. And I did it through my education, you know, focusing on school. And fortunately, because I housed Black, there was the Black prison politic is so disjointed. Like, there's so many gangs in California. It's hard to have any organization or structure, right? Which isn't true for the white prison politic or for the Hispanic prison politic. They're much more structured. They put the stuff on the streets to the side, and they're just like, well, we're all white or we're all Hispanic, and you're going to do what we say. Second 10 years, however, something really remarkable happened. My point level, because of good behavior, so I started off on a maximum security level 4 institution. And by 2010, I had worked my way down to a level 2. Is a low, so it's less security. I mean, you're still in prison. It's still a prison cell, but there's not as many gun towers. And the prison I transferred to, as Providence would have it, my co-defendant, who was like my big brother, he transferred there as well. And he had made some substantial changes in his life. Now, he was white, and he is white. I just want to say this. When we first went to prison, we were at the same prison for 7 years together. And because I housed Black and because he's white, the amount of conversation that we had did not exceed what we've been on this call, 30 minutes, in 7 years. That's how hardcore the prison politic was about, you know, you're white, he's Black, you're enemies. So by the time we got to the same prison and he presented me with this idea, he said, look, I would like you to begin working with me on developing a platform to get incarcerated people certified as alcohol and other drug counselors. So I said, you know, my knee-jerk reaction was like, well, last time we did anything together, someone died. And I resisted at first, but the idea was so good to be a part of something that could really add value and equip people to return to the community with, you know, a legitimate career. So we began working together, and we began surrounding ourselves with other individuals of all different ethnicities who were committed to doing something good with their time and contributing to something that could add value to the community inside of prison and beyond. More blessings came along. I'm married, and my wife actually had the love and the faith in us to marry me while I was incarcerated. in California, there was no conjugal visits, family visits for married people, if you had life terms when she married me. But that changed in 2017. So I have a 2-year-old and I have an 8-month-old, almost 9-month-old. All right, so in 2019, now I'm still in prison and I still have a life term. Now the process for lifers, that's what they call them, lifers, is that when you approach your parole date, you sit in front of what's called a psych review, and then you have a parole board hearing. Now, I thought that I was going to bypass the board because in 2019, a law passed in California. It's called SB 1437. And what that law essentially says is that if you did not actually pull the trigger in a homicide, then you should not be charged with murder. I filed a petition, and it wasn't until September of 2019, I came from a very conservative county, that the judge denied my petition and said that the law was unconstitutional. On top of that, the head honcho of all prisons sent a recommendation to my sentencing court saying that based upon Mr. Bryant's behavior over these last 20 years in prison, it is no longer in the interest of justice for him to be in prison. And I'm recommending his release. And the same judge who denied me on the 1437 denied me on 1170 as well. And then I called one of my colleagues, my friends who had paroled, and he works for CROP as well. And he told me, he said, well, this is December of 2019. He says, well, Jay, get ready because CNN is coming in to document the scholarship that we helped establish. And you're going to tell the story. And to give you a little context, inside of prison, the base pay for most incarcerated people is 8 cents an hour. 8 cents an hour. But my friend, my colleague, my brother, the executive director of CROP, he came up with an idea one day. We were at a book reading where there were some middle school and high school students at a private school that were doing book readings with us. And you could just see from the way they spoke and the way they interacted with us that they were incredibly equipped to lead and that they would be the future leaders of America. And Ted leaned over to me and he said, Jay, we need to do that. We need to establish a scholarship to help a young person who can't afford to attend this school go. So for the next 3 years, that's what we did. We began raising money. And over the course of 3 years, we raised $32,000 to help a young man get a great education at a private school. So CNN caught wind of this story. And in January of 2020, Lisa Ling came in and filmed for 8 days, filming the story of the book club, of me and my story, and of the scholarship which we helped establish. And on March 27th of last year, the governor ordered both mine and my co-defendant Ted, he ordered both of our immediate release from prison. So after he ordered it, 6 days later, I was free. For the last year, Ted and I have been working with our team to reimagine reentry. The truth of the matter is that the reentry system over here in the United States, it is very much like, it is an extension of a punishment model which people see inside of prison. The services out here are not coordinated, and the unfortunate reality is that while the majority of people in the States are Caucasian, the majority of people in prison are Black and brown. So the system is in many ways set up for failure for the people who are coming home, and we've been working hard to rectify that. But it's an honor to be in a position to not only provide for my family, but contribute to a new narrative of what's possible for formerly incarcerated people and bring some healing to communities. That's my story up until now. More to come.
Wow.